So if there's a discussion that I've really been wanting to avoid, it is this one. However, I've been getting a lot of questions regarding it, so I decided to just create a video and answer it one time. And the question is, why do I give all my RAW and all my unedited JPEGs to the clients? I mean, all of it. Now, just as a disclaimer, all of these things that I'm about to say works for me. It may not work for other people, but then they ask me, so I'm giving my answers. I have 6 reasons. However, before I even get into those reasons, I just want to put this premise out there because this is the most common analogy that I've heard, that a chef never serves raw meat, and that's why they don't want to give their raw files. But here's the thing. Number one, I'm not a chef. I'm a photographer. I'm a photographer, not an editor. 2 different things. I'm a photographer and an editor. So if you want to take that analogy of the chef doesn't serve raw meat, well, I'll tell you this much. The raw meat is my output as a photographer. As an editor, I am then a chef. But then again, I am a photographer, not a chef. So let's talk about this one now. The 6 reasons and why I actually give all my raw files to my clients. So the first is instant backup and commitment done. So by the way, I'm Jiggie, a portrait and wedding photographer from the Philippines, and welcome to the channel. I'm actually going to be setting up for a shoot later. So if you guys want to learn more about off-camera lighting or photography in general, then this channel is for you. So you might want to consider subscribing, and while you're at it, click that notification bell. Now, it's important to understand that I am a portrait and wedding photographer, and at the same time, I'm a commercial photographer. So most of the reasons that I'm going to give you today works for those 2 specific genres. So the first reason, as I said, is that it's instant backup and commitment done. So it's very important for me to actually give all my raw files already, so immediately my work is done. Especially as a wedding photographer, I give them all the RAW and JPEG images, and that's it. I'm done as a photographer because I have actually given my commitment to them. Now, as a commercial and advertising photographer, this is usually how it works. I have a creative director beside me. I have my, camera tethered to my laptop, so everything that I'm shooting will be there. The creative director would say, all right, we got a shot, next layout. So that's the entire process. Everything's already in my computer. The moment that the shoot ends, I will transfer everything to their hard drive and give it to them and turn it over immediately. Because number one, I trust their in-house editing team and the vision that we want to create, because the photograph is only a part of the actual vision or the ad that we're creating. And number 2, which is more important, it is done. My deliverables are done and the billing process can start. Very, very important, because if it takes time for you to edit images, the moment you turn over the edited images is the only time your billing will start, which might take a long time. So by giving them all the raw and edited JPEGs and tell them, okay, you want to do the in-house editing, we're good, time to bill. All right, so reason number 2, I charge extra for editing. So let's separate it again. As a portrait and wedding photographer, in my contract, I actually give X number of edits per wedding. So I give them everything, then I edit only the highlight photos. Now, when I say highlight photos, these are the photos that we actually choose, which we perceive to be the best representation of the whole day. However, the reason why I also like giving the raw unedited JPEG files is number 1, I'm actually fairly confident that my JPEG files are very good because I try to shoot as if I'm not going to be editing. Now, secondly, I will not edit all 5,000 photos that I take from the wedding. But again, wedding is a documentation of an event for a whole day. Now, I might actually not edit pictures that are, let's say, the food or the caterers or everything that's happening in that day, but I would want my clients to actually have it. Because again, having those images with them is a reminder of what happened in that day. If I hold all the images hostage and just give them what I perceive to be what they want, I think it's kinda unfair. Now next, as a commercial photographer, again, I charge extra for editing because you have to remember this. Editing also equates to time. The more time that you spend, you should be billing for that. So that's why I always try to separate me as a photographer and me as an editor. Now, if I'm going to be editing, I will include that in the package. So reason number 3, it will make you a better photographer. It will make you a better photographer. Why? Because you're giving all the JPEG images. So whenever you're giving your JPEG images, you have to remember, editing is not meant to correct mistakes. Rather, it is meant to enhance your images. Because let's go back to the actual concept of RAW and JPEG. RAW files technically are not image files. They're just data that's interpolated or processed by a specific software, and normally all RAW files turn out flat. JPEG images are the ones that are processed in camera, and that should be ready to go. Now here's the thing. Normally, whenever I do edit my RAW files, it's just very slight enhancements. A little bit of tweaking here and there just to make it overall a cleaner and more, well, let's say a more polished piece of work. Now, the JPEG images, I don't want to say that they're not polished, but they are, especially if you take pains in creating the images properly without having to depend on edit. Now, I've actually seen a lot of people who take fantastic pictures, but destroy it in editing. So again, editing and photography are two totally different things. And at the same time, it will make you a better photographer if you actually challenge yourself to create great photographs already straight out of camera and not be dependent on editing. Now, if you guys are familiar with the channel, you know that whenever I am shooting here in the studio, I actually give you a live view of what my camera is seeing, and all the images that you're seeing is straight out of the camera. Though I have to admit, the finished products are polished because I would want to edit them. But the images itself that came out of the camera, to be honest, are actually good enough. But that's just me trying to get that perfect photograph that I'm still striving for up until today. So reason number 4, what we perceive as beautiful may not be beautiful to everyone. So it is, again, unfair. This is me as a portrait and wedding photographer talking. It is unfair for us not to give the images, all the images to the client and just give them what we've perceived to be as beautiful. Because I've had it, or it happened to me in so many instances, that I would choose a particular photograph that I believe that the bride is beautiful in. But then when they go through all the unedited and raw files, they'd say, can we please have this one edited because I believe that I look more beautiful in that. And that's the reason why I want all the images with them, which now brings me to reason number 5. We manage expectations. When we give them all the raw files, we'd say, these are 5,000 images, so it might be a bit overwhelming to look at, but some people won't, some people will. But here are a few images that we perceive to be the best of the bunch. So here it is. Then you have your 5,000 images there. So we manage expectations. So that's very, very important. Now, reason number 6 is all about future proofing. Let's talk about me as a wedding photographer, not as a commercial photographer, because this one doesn't really apply to commercial photography. Weddings are meant to last a lifetime. Now, if I were to give just the images that I took today, processed, then I would be telling the client that I can guarantee you that 20 years from now, the images that I processed today will still look amazing. The problem with that is that there are trends that are happening. Well, I've actually prided myself in saying that I try to be as classic as possible as a wedding photographer. But again, there's some people who actually love the filters or the trends that are out today. Now, I remember maybe about 2018, the trend was HDR. So most of the images that were given to the clients were HDR. So all their albums are HDR, everything was HDR. Today, the fad is the light and airy, or maybe the brown tones, or maybe the yellow tones. It's a lot of things. I'm not saying that they're not nice. They are actually nice for today. However, I would want to future-proof it. So normally, if I do want to put my editing style today, I would give it to them as part of my edited pictures. However, by giving them the RAW and JPEG files, I am now able to say, 20 years from now, if you decide that this particular style is outdated, then you can actually reprocess your wedding photos. Here are the raw images. So therefore, you're actually really making all their images future-proof and timeless. And that's why I give all my raw and unedited files to my client. So if you have any comments or opinion with regards to giving raw files to your clients or all the unedited JPEG to your clients, feel free to leave them in the comment section below. But I will say this again, as I said in the very start of this video, these are my personal opinions. These are the things that work for me. It doesn't necessarily mean that what I'm saying here works for everyone, but I've just been asked a question on why I give all my raw files to my clients, and these are the reasons why. So I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you did, please do consider subscribing to the channel, and while you're at it, click that notification bell. Now, if you want to learn more about off-camera photography and to see what I'm actually doing here, do check out the rest of the videos in the channel because I do a lot of instructional videos when it comes to off-camera lighting and small studio work like what I have here. Okay, and if you want to see some of the images that I've created, you could always find me on my social media sites on Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok, all at Jiggie Alejandrino. Okay, till the next video.